Hi everybody, I'm Richard. I'm a volunteer with Tayport Community Garden Plant, but I'm also a lecturer in education and primary school teacher currently working at the University of Dundee. One of the things I do as a volunteer with the Tayport Community Garden Plant is write the occasional blog post about gardening, the outdoors, food and the environment in general. And I was reading one of the blog posts from a fellow contributor, Kathleen, recently, which is very, very funny, and I recommend you should go and read it yourself, about how not to make a pond. And it got me thinking about when I was younger, living with my parents, and they had a wildlife pond in their garden. It's only small, it's only a couple of metres by a metre wide, and it's about a metre deep. But when my dad started building the pond many years ago, it very quickly attracted loads of great wildlife, and I spent hours as a child watching the toads and the newts and the frogs and also insects, things like pond skaters and whirligig beetles. And then later when I became a primary school teacher, that inspired me to get some pets for my classroom, and we couldn't have a pond in the school grounds. And so what I did instead was I got a large tank and I did some research, and I managed to get two fire-bellied or oriental or Chinese newts and an oriental toad to go with it. And they lived in the classroom for many years, and the children got a great learning and experience looking after them and finding out more about them and observing them as much as I'd done watching the pond when I was little. So now that I've moved on, those animals have come to live with me. They sometimes live in my office, but at the moment, during lockdown, during isolation, they're here in my flat. And I thought it'd be quite a nice idea to introduce you to my own indoor pond. So here you can see the tank, and you should be able to make out the movement of the green toad moving towards one of the rocks. You'll also notice the newts in one of the corners, the bigger female newt and the smaller male newt. They're quite active because I've just fed them, and they eat a range of different live food, which I have to go and find for them. And the most common thing and the easiest thing to find is small earthworms. And they need feeding every week or so, I would say, depending on the time of year. The other things that they might eat are other invertebrates, like wood lice and things like that. But usually it's just earthworms. And you can see the toad there quite happily caught its earthworm and is eating that now. You'll also notice in the tank that I've got some rocks there for them, and also lots of pondweed for them. The pondweed provides a bit of shelter for them, somewhere for them to hide away and also to go around and explore, and it also oxygenates the water. And the pondweed that I have in the tank with them is something called Elodea densa. You'll notice in the tank that the pondweed at one side is a little bit brighter, a little bit greener than the rest. That's some weed that I bought recently, and I bought it online and had it delivered. And that's because I'd moved the tank from a different location, from my office in the university, here to my flat. And there's a different light level and a different temperature level as well. And a bit like the plants in your garden, if you change the conditions, then they'll respond accordingly. So I decided to buy some more weed to supplement what was already in there as well. So now we're going to take a closer look at the female larger newt and the toad. Those little blue lines are the reflection of the camera, but you can see them, they're fairly active under the water. The newt's moving around, seeing what it can find to eat, and the toad there, slightly startled, has just moved itself up on top of the rock. Quite interesting looking creatures, really nice colourings on them. So I hope you've found this vlog interesting, and maybe it's encouraged you or even inspired you to think about your own outdoor pond, a bit like Kathleen, or maybe even you think about getting your own indoor pond like mine, even if you haven't got a huge amount of space, and then you can have some animal life and some plant life around you at all times. If you want to get in touch and ask me some questions, I'll leave my Twitter details at the end, but also you could have a look online at the Tayport Community Garden plant blog posts and get in touch with me that way. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.